Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 10th Annual Reshaping Rochester Awards presentation. I'm Maria Ferjueli. I'm the Executive Director of the Community Design Center Rochester. The Community Design Center hosts the Reshaping Rochester Awards to recognize contributions to our region that have had a positive effect on the built environment, foster collaboration, stimulate conversation, and set a high standard for others to follow. We celebrate individuals and organizations who are employing innovative design solutions and embracing civic engagement as they address the needs and aspirations of communities and neighborhoods across the greater Rochester region. In this landmark year for the Design Center, with both the 10th anniversary of the Reshaping Rochester Awards program and the 15th anniversary of the Reshaping Rochester Lecture Series, as well as unprecedented times, both globally and locally, we are especially honored to celebrate noteworthy organizations and people in the community. And now let me tell you a little bit about who we are. Community Design Center Rochester advances quality design to create healthy communities that are equitable, accessible, and resilient. We promote design excellence and sustainability in the built environment through advocacy, education, and community engagement. We serve a 9-county area in Western New York and are one of a handful of community design centers that are self-sustaining, meaning that we are not associated with a government agency or an academic institution. It is our independence that allows us to put the community's best interests at the forefront of our work. We share expertise in placemaking. We believe that the way that we create space has an impact on how we build community. And we believe strongly in a planning process that is informed by grassroots community engagement. The Community Design Center Rochester has facilitated over 30 community design charrettes, both in the city and throughout the region. We also facilitate neighborhood workshops and make presentations throughout the community. And now I'd like to recognize our many sponsors. A special thanks to Community Preservation Corporation for being our presenting sponsor today. And to our supporting sponsors, Rochester Cornerstones Group, the Greater Rochester Association of Realtors, and ESL Charitable Foundation. And these are our contributing sponsors and our virtual table sponsors. Our lecture sponsors are in our digital program, as well as other businesses and organizations that support our work. All levels of support contribute directly to sustaining the work of the CDCR. And we are very grateful to each of you. I'd like to give a huge shout out and thank you to each of our planning board committee members, as well as our staff and volunteers for their hard work and dedication. This year, the committee had the honor of reviewing and selecting the awards finalists and winners. I also want to recognize our production team that made this virtual event possible. Gigi Garcon designed and compiled the virtual program. Stacy Waxon produced our videos. Miriam Yakub created our award certificates. And Monica Reifenstein is our very talented Zoom wizard working behind the scenes today. Thank you to each of you for your help. We thank the New York State Council on the Arts, who has made our work possible through their generous support over the last 15 years. This year, the Design Center was also very fortunate to receive a CARES grant through NISCA. We are grateful to Canandaigua National Bank for their multi-year commitment to the Design Center. And at this time, I'd like to recognize and thank our Circle of Giving friends who contribute at least $500 per year. Their commitment and generosity helps us as we plan our programs for the year. Our Circle friends enjoy special benefits, and if you are interested in joining them, please contact me or the Community Design Center. Last but not least, I'd like to introduce you to our board of directors. On the top row are our officers. Bill Price is our president. Monica McCullough is our vice president. Stephanie Annunziata is our treasurer. Vanessa Villeneuve is our secretary. And Paul Tankel is our immediate past president. And on the lower row, you'll see Natalie Anderson, Eugenio Marlin, Sheila Sloan, Howard Decker, and Tanya Zweilin. I want to thank you for your commitment, guidance, and continued support. The Community Design Center of Rochester has been very fortunate to enjoy the support of a variety of state agencies, charitable foundations, firms, businesses, and individuals. Donation from individuals make up a fifth of our budget. We truly are very grateful for your support. And without that, we would not be able to exist. Here to kick off our annual Give campaign is our board member, Howard Decker.
We need your help. Community Design Center of Rochester is working every day to design and build a more equitable, just, accessible, and beautiful city. As we reshape Rochester, we need our friends, our neighbors, and our fellow citizens, all those who believe in a better city, join us. With your help and with an increase in our resources, Design Center can advance your voice in shaping the city you dream of inhabiting. With your help, we can continue to work to build a strong, durable, and meaningful Rochester. Together, we can reconstruct every neighborhood into an outstanding place for our children and their children. Please join us. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Howard. Present and past board members have contributed a pledge challenge and are committed to matching new or increased donations up to $4,500 today. Please help us to continue fulfilling our mission by making a pledge today by going to our website at cdcrochester.org/donate or by writing the word pledge in the chat, and someone from the Community Design Center will follow up with you after this event. I thank you in advance for your support. I want to let you know that every pledge that's received today will receive a limited edition reproduction of this beautiful watercolor that is signed by our very own board member, Howard Decker. He's an artist and an urban thinker, and we are very, very grateful to have him have made this special watercolor for us to celebrate this special event for the Community Design Center. And now, the moment that you've been waiting for. The Award for Design and the Award for Activism are nominated by the public, and as I stated, this year were reviewed and selected by the awards committee. And the award for the Director's Award is nominated and selected by our board of directors. Here to introduce the Award for Design is Lainey Bittner, the current president-elect of the Greater Rochester Association of Realtors. Welcome, Lainey.
Thank you, Maria. Happy to be here. The Award for Design recognizes projects that demonstrate design excellence and contribute to enriching the public realm. Here are the finalists.
When it started heating up in Rochester, Tanvi Asher, owner of Peppermint, which is housed at the Culver Road Armory, received special permission from the Armory's management to host outdoor flea market-style pop-up shops. The goal was to keep attendees safe during the pandemic while still offering creators the opportunity to showcase and sell their local product. Thamada, the market at the Armory, is nominated for its shift from a large one-day market to several small markets throughout late summer and early fall.
The Highland Crossing Trail a collaboration between the town of Brighton and the city of Rochester, is nominated for being a pedestrian and bike-friendly connection between Brighton Town Park and the Genesee River Trail. It provides an active transportation route for short commutes to work and to recreational destinations, all while reducing emissions of greenhouse gases and other environmental degradation.
And the winner is Highland Crossing Trail. Bill Maley is invited to accept the award on behalf of the town of Brighton.
Thank you, Lainey, and thanks to the Rochester Community Design Center for this recognition for the Highland Crossing Trail project, particularly for your recognition that active transportation projects, trail projects, uniquely benefit communities like Brighton and Rochester, and those benefits spread to surrounding areas linked by these trails. I'm also grateful for all the work that the Community Design Center has done over the years to advance effective urban planning and design in our county. I'm very proud of our team from the town of Brighton who worked to make this project possible. Most of them are with us remotely today, led by our Commissioner of Public Works, Mike Guyon, his predecessor, Tim Keefe, Ramsey Boehner, Everett Garcia, and Jeff Frisch. The Highland Crossing Trail was a joint collaboration, as you mentioned, between the town of Brighton and the city of Rochester. And it would not have been possible without years of collaboration with our counties in the city, particularly including, of course, Mayor Lovely Warren, Marcus Cox, and Jeff Merzak. Other agencies were involved, particularly the state DOT, and I want to acknowledge Rick Papage, Steve Bove, and Robert Corsamilia, along with the Genesee Transportation Council, again, particularly Jim Stack. Finally, no project of this magnitude can be successful without a talented and capable design team, and I want to thank Fisher Associates, led by Roseanne Schmidt, and her team, along with Peter Vlodzarczyk, for your vision for this great project and how it integrates with our community, as well as Ryan Dana from Catco, for making that vision the reality that you see today. I apologize if I missed anyone in these acknowledgments, but given the various iterations of funding sources and the time it took to make it possible, I certainly may have missed someone, but we're grateful for everyone. Although not directly a part of this project, you saw in the video the magnificent statue of Frederick Douglass. And I want to thank Reverend J.D. Jackson, along with Larry Staub, for their vision in relocating that statue out to the new Frederick Douglass Memorial Square that is along the route of the Highland Crossing Trail in the city at the corner of South Avenue and Robinson Drive. In a time of COVID, people have taken to parks and trails as a safe place. When this trail and the rest of Brighton's park and trail system was designed, we couldn't possibly have conceived of the value of parks and trails in a pandemic. But the Highland Crossing Trail, like all of our trails, has become a refuge during challenging times. And as a part of our Sustainable Comprehensive Plan, Envision Brighton 2028, we are committed to continuing to enhance our trail system, as well as to carry out our sustainable vision for Brighton's future. Thank you very much for this award.
Thank you very much, Bill. Thank you, Bill. And we wanted to very much also extend our congratulations to the City of Rochester. What a wonderful collaboration. And I know this is a very important both recreational and commuter connector between the Erie Canal and the Genesee River. And so now it's my pleasure to announce, to present the activism finalists. This award recognizes civic spirit, persistence, and determination in turning a vision into reality. And here are the nominees.
Professor Uticia Benjamin is nominated for her use of art to bridge the gap between events, reaction, and activism, including recent projects throughout Rochester that use short phrases to bring awareness to issues around race in our community. Benjamin has been producing engaging works of art for 25 years. She creates things in many mediums such as paint, graphite, clay, and photography. Professor Uticia Benjamin is a full-time faculty member at Monroe Community College, where she teaches drawing, figure drawing, and painting.
Nicole Manopel is nominated for her leadership as Director and Lead Strategist of Letchworth Gateway Villages. Here, she uses regional thinking and vision to solve complex and layered rural economic development challenges. A Geneseo native with global experience, she joined LGV in 2017, excited to bring her passion for rural development to bear in a place that she loves. In her time with LGV, she has led the organization as it transformed its mission into a regional consortium centered on a cohesive, reimagined Genesee Valley. She has brought in international consultants, tirelessly navigated regional politics, and works daily at the local level to forge a vision and then deliver the tools to implement it.
The REACH Tiny Home Village team is nominated for their work to create safe, accessible, and supportive living options for those without housing. Initially formed in 2014 to help provide emergency housing after the bulldozing of a tent city in Rochester, the team is now proposing a tiny home village that utilizes vacant city lots while expanding the number of truly affordable housing options. REACH believes that housing is a human right and that the current housing crisis faced by the very poor in our city needs to be tackled with creative thinking if we are to succeed in caring for all of our people.
Reverend Myra Brown is pastor of Spiritus Christi Church, and she is nominated for her history of local community activism, including mediation work during Rochester's 2020 protests to advocate for a safe space for the community to protest and grieve. One of the first Black women pastors in the country, activism is something Reverend Myra has dedicated her life to and always incorporated into her work. She has consistently supported and bridged communities, pushing past conventional boundaries to positively transform Rochester. She leads a racial justice team at her parish, helped create an adoptive family program for the poor, and developed the Caring Connections group for her parishioners and their caregivers.
Sean Dunwoody is nominated for his use of public space to enact placemaking and community care. He has been integral in many dynamic Rochester projects, including painting COVID infographics on sidewalks, Black Lives Matters on Court Street, and Composers Crossing at the intersection of Gibbs Street and East Main Street, as well as the Sanitation Station project with Hinge Neighbors, which utilized abandoned paste kiosks throughout the community for free hand sanitizer units. Dunwoody is a co-founder of Hinge Neighbors and the integrative artist, designer, and visual consultant of Dunwoody Visual Consulting, a widely recognized and multidisciplinary creative force for change.
And so I want to thank all of the finalists. You can see the great diversity of experience and projects and expressions. And I'd like to say that the winner is Sean Dunwoody. Sean, if you're in the audience, hopefully you'll be here to accept your award.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Sean.
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you so very much for the nomination. It is, sorry, I can't, I'm busy working right now, but it's great to be with such a lineup with such fantastic people that are helping to shape the city of Rochester. I accept this award on behalf of everyone who's moving forward and trying to push that needle ahead to make Rochester, Monroe County, New York State, the world, what it can be as far as of what promises and what we can do if we just give and take and be kind to one another. And I appreciate this. But once again, this award goes out, is actually accepted by everyone. This is for everyone who's doing the things that need to be done, because we all can take our part to shape the future for our generations, next generation, next generation. We always have to look forward to the stars that we can't see. And I thank everyone for everything that they've done and what we all continue to do. And thank you for this nomination, or this award, I should say. And thank you. And I applaud everyone who was a nominee, a finalist, and those who are doing work that are not recognized. I applaud you as well. And I thank you for this very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. I'm so glad you could join us. And as you said, we are very, very impressed with the amazing variety of work. I want to let everyone know that we have also made up plaques for all of our finalists. So we will arrange with each of you to get your award plaques to you after the event. So congratulations to all of you. And so now I'd like to present the Director's Award. This award recognizes efforts that have enhanced the public realm and contributed to its vibrancy. The Director's Award goes to the City of Rochester for the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Park. And here we have a short video presentation.
Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Park was originally called Manhattan Square Park. Comprising of 5 acres, the park was built in 1975 in an East Side downtown neighborhood in Rochester. It was designed by the notable and award-winning landscape architect Lawrence Halprin. Halprin's work is marked by his attention to human scale, the user experience, and the social impact of his designs, very much in the egalitarian tradition of Frederick Law Olmsted. Halprin's range of projects demonstrates his vision of the garden or open space as a fitting stage for the human experience. Manhattan Square has gone through a number of lives in our city, often ignored in the years after its construction and not often the site for active programming in the city. The square has now come to new life, both as a site for a variety of programs ranging from concerts to a winter and Christmas village, to more recently being reincarnated as a blackboard on which Rochesterians can express their voice and to serve as a gathering place for the community. Manhattan Square has now taken its place as an essential part of our city's public realm.
And so here to accept this award on behalf of the City of Rochester's Department of Environmental Services is Jeff Morozak.
Hello, and thank you for this wonderful recognition. My name is Jeff Morozak, and I'm the Senior Landscape Architect for the City of Rochester, and I gratefully accept this award on behalf of the City of Rochester. Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Park, formerly known as Southeast Loop Park and Manhattan Square Park, opened in 1974 as part of the 60-acre Southeast Loop Urban Renewal Plan. Designed by modernist landscape architect Lawrence Halprin, the park was acclaimed as a modern marvel, but for a variety of reasons, its popularity declined and the park lost its ability to attract users. The restaurant and other amenities closed, playground equipment was removed, the ice rink required constant repairs, and the fountain sat dry. Recognizing the park's importance to a vibrant downtown, the community-based master planning process was completed in 2002. The planning process confirmed the public's desire to restore the park, and a series of renovations were undertaken that have reinvigorated this valuable public amenity. The improvements have included creation of a unique playground within the originally designated play space with artist-designed interactive play equipment, lowering the elevations of the original berms to improve sight lines and enhance views, elevation of the ice rink to street level with an expanded ice sheet and modernized skater services building, complete renovation of the multi-purpose interior space to create a modern and leasable space for meetings, weddings, and other events, and most recently, the rewatering of the cascading fountain. The park has now come back to life. It is a site for a variety of programs, ranging from concerts to a winter and Christmas village. It hosts a record number of skaters throughout the winter, to more recently being reincarnated as a blackboard on which Rochesterians recorded their wishes and dreams. Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Park has once again taken its place as an essential part of our city's public realm. There are many people to thank for the 20+ years of work that have gotten us to this point, and for supporting the continued renovation of the park, including mayors and city councils past and present, including our present mayor, Lovely Warren, for their continuous support, DES Commissioner Norm Jones and City Engineer Holly Barrett for their guidance through the many project phases, our construction administration team led by Andy Wawajik, DES, Parks, and Buildings Maintenance staff that are taking on the complex responsibilities that come with the rink and fountain reactivation, the many contractors who have put their sweat and ingenuity into bringing the designs to life, Stantec Consulting, especially Dwight Herringer, who has been with the project since the master plan and through all stages of design and construction. And a special thank you to my predecessor as Senior Landscape Architect for the City of Rochester, Joanne Beck. It was her steadfast vision and guidance that carried this project from the inception of the master plan through all of the built phases that we see today. As mentioned earlier, this park was established in the urban renewal era. While the goals of the era were intended to foster a new and better urban environment, we can look back today and see the profound and often negative impacts that they brought forth. The city has been aggressively positioning downtown for our present and future growth by addressing the shortcomings of this past. Midtown Mall has been raised and the former superblock reimagined with a more traditional street grid, with all of the surrounding buildings either new construction, totally renovated, or under development. The inner loop has been filled and replaced with an at-grade walkable and bikeable boulevard, connecting our urban core to the surrounding neighborhoods, and has led to significant private development along every inch of its length. The Rock the Riverway initiative is turning our attention back to our prized riverfront to revitalize the existing parks and municipal facilities, and developing long sought continuous connectivity of the Genesee Riverway Trail system through downtown. And finally, through the past and future phases of the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Park project, we are once again bringing life to the heart of our center city. Thank you again to all of those that have worked to make these projects a reality, and to the Community Design Center for recognizing the importance and significance of this ongoing project. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, for taking the time to pre-record that acceptance. We congratulate the city and all of the finalists and winners for this year's awards. Now we have one more award to share with you. We could not celebrate this very important anniversary for the Design Awards without recognizing the tremendous contributions made by a founding awards committee member and dear friend of the Design Center, Amy Hecker. Amy's generosity of time, talent, and treasure have been instrumental in the success not only of the awards program, but also for our organization. The image on this award certificate, as you know, is a reproduction of a watercolor painting by Amy's husband, Howard Decker. We ask Amy to please accept this and a small gift of coffee and chocolates as a token of our appreciation. Thank you so much, Amy, for everything that you've given to the Design Center. And now, it is my great honor to introduce this year's Urban Observations speaker. Danielle Ponder is a musician, an activist, and lawyer who has been pursuing music full-time since 2018. when she took a leap of faith and left her work as a public defender. In her 5 years with the Monroe County Public Defender's Office, she's provided criminal defense to indigent defendants. Ms. Ponder has dedicated the past 15 years to organizing and speaking up for marginalized communities. She has worked on issues such as education, funding, women's rights, and has spent the past 8 years working for criminal justice reform. She was recently highlighted by the American Bar Association and has been a TEDx speaker. In 2017, Ms. Ponder created the multimedia show For the Love of Justice, where she shines light on our criminal justice system through the powerful lyrics and thought-provoking visuals. Please welcome Danielle Ponder.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for that introduction. I am going to start with a song for 2 reasons. Just in case you don't like my speech, you have the song to take away. And also it will cut into the amount of time that I will have to actually speak. So this is a song I've been singing all summer. It's by Sam Cooke, and it is called A Change Is Gonna Come. I was born by the river in a little tent, and oh, just like that river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. Oh, I don't know what's out there long beyond the sky. Oh, it's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Thank you so much. The whole time I was doing that, I was wondering if I was on mute. Yeah, but I wasn't. Okay, so great. So once again, thank you so much for having me. Thank you to the Community Design Center. I want to start by congratulating all of the amazing nominees who have been highlighted in today's award ceremony. I know some of them personally, and they are all so deserving and have helped make Rochester a more hopeful place. I just want to also acknowledge them because some of you could be painting murals in Berlin, or opening boutiques in Paris, or resolving conflicts in the Middle East, which I do truly believe Myra Brown could do that. But instead, you have chosen Rochester and you are committed to this city. And so we are beyond grateful and lucky to have you. But I would not be myself if I just came here and told you things, all of the good things and things that made you feel good, or gave you some speech about how great Rochester is, and on and on and on. I'm an artist and an activist, and my job is to engage in radical truth-telling. So I just want to shout out Community Design Center for being brave enough and courageous enough to give me a platform without seeing my speech or really knowing what I'm going to talk about. So the other day I was driving in my old neighborhood, and that actually sparked the idea of what I wanted to talk to you all about today. I grew up on Bay Street near Webster Avenue. And I remember, and I was driving through my neighborhood, and was just thinking about how it looks exactly the same. My brother actually lives in the house that we grew up in. Goodman Plaza was still a mess. There wasn't a grocery store. Our neighbors are still being evicted. Folks in that neighborhood are still struggling to make ends meet. Families are on food stamps. And like it was not 20 years ago, but just still exists to this day, the police force drives around in expensive sports cars while folks in that neighborhood, many can't even afford a car. And I lived in that neighborhood 20 years ago. So it was really painful to think that 20 years has passed and not much has changed. It's not only painful, it's actually shameful. But as I continue to drive just across the railroad tracks, almost literally, I drove into a neighborhood that is not too far from where I grew up. And that neighborhood, Railroad Street, East Avenue, the Public Market, North Goodman, even all the way downtown. In that neighborhood, change has arrived. The Public Market, a place where my mother used to go to produce because it was cheaper than Wegmans, now a hipster playground with an $8.5 million investment. Expensive restaurants where toast meets avocado, $6 artisan creme brulee donuts, an outside eating area replete with portable fire pits and beautiful lighting. Rochester was changing, but where I grew up has stayed the same. Then I drove down further toward downtown, and beautiful luxury lofts greet me at every corner. New breweries, restaurants, bike lanes, dog bakeries, downtown, a fertile ground for a rich white man's new business venture. But still, my neighborhood remained the same. And that is true for most predominantly Black neighborhoods in this city. From Jefferson to Thurston to Bay Street, Parcells, Black folks have not been provided the same benefits or have not reaped the same benefits of this growing city. So it is no wonder that in 2018, we were named the second worst place for African Americans to live. And that's pretty astounding when you think about the fact that 44% of this city is Black. So we are the worst place to live for almost half of our residents. And a third of Black people in this city are living in poverty. We all know these stats because almost every other year there's a report that tells us this. Every 5 years there's a commission formed to study it. And there's always a group of elected officials ready to pass around the responsibility stick. We created the racial wealth gap in this city. This was by design. There were deliberate racial policies from redlining to restrictive covenants, employment discrimination, overcriminalization of the Black community that brought us to this point. And we have done nothing to atone for it. My mother could have given this exact address to you in 1968 when she was an 18-year-old girl living in Hanover Projects. And beyond not atoning and correcting our past, we continue to enact policies that increase or at least maintain the racial divide. So while we are applauding bike lanes and biking infrastructures, we are ignoring the fact that RPD almost exclusively tickets and arrests Black men for riding on a bike without a bell or without a light. While we are cutting ribbons on expensive luxury apartments, we are ignoring the fact that right now in this city, tenants are calling activists to show up and help stop evictions. And as we build and renovate new medical facilities, we ignore that CNAs are some of the lowest paid workers in Rochester, and they also often happen to be single mothers of color. We invite power players from our court system to galas and fundraisers while never holding them to task about a local system of mass incarceration that over-prosecutes and penalizes defendants of color, putting them deeper into poverty. And we give billions of dollars to nonprofits that provide social services but do not create social change. And most of these white nonprofits are white-led. So there's a good portion of grant funding that goes to salaries, and most of those salaries are going to people who live in the suburbs. As one of my fellow activists once said, we are subsidizing the suburbs with our pay, from the police force to our social workers, even to our school teachers. It's time to end this practice of giving millions of dollars to the next great white ideal on how to fix the Negro. And what is so dangerous about these nonprofits is that they create a buffer between people living in poverty and real change. And Paul Kinniv says in his article, Social Service and Social Change, people in the ruling class have always wanted to prevent people at the bottom of the pyramid from organizing for power in order to maintain the power, control, and most importantly, wealth that they have accumulated. To maintain this separation and to prevent themselves from becoming the objects of people's anger, they have used legal, educational, and professional systems to create a network of professions to deal directly with the rest of the population. Instead of ending our system of imprisoning people for minor crimes, we give them a public defender, so at least there's someone next to them. Instead of asking for and demanding living wages, we'll give them a little bit of food stamps. Instead of creating real development and investments, we'll give them, maybe we'll give them a nonprofit that can help them make ends meet for today. Once again, providing social services, but not transformative social change. We give Black folks just enough in order to keep them relatively quiet. Well, it's time to shift this paradigm. It is time to give directly to the Black community, direct, explicit investments that are not race neutral. Direct, explicit investments that are not race neutral. That is a nice way to say reparations, because folks struggle with that word. So instead, just like not saying defunding, saying reallocating, we'll say direct, explicit investments into these communities that are not race neutral. There's been several studies that show that the only way to truly reduce the racial wealth gap is for there to be explicit investments into the Black community. Because the reason the racial wealth gap exists is because there were explicit investments into the Black community, into the white community. The Federal Housing Authority created the suburbs by subsidizing mortgage payments. And 98% of those loans went to the white community. So it is time to realize that Black people know what they need and give them the money and agency to create, to change, and to build a future. Gone are the days when we can justify giving $10 million to a white-led nonprofit and $10 gift cards to peer supports. And I'm hopeful that this will happen. Now, this is where the hope comes in. You can take a deep breath and not feel so awful. And it's not because of our politicians. It's not because of people in positions of power, but it's because of the awakening of the young Black activist community. Activists like Stanley Martin, Ashley Gant, Rena Golden, Adrian Elam, Black women, Black femmes, Black men who are rejecting business as usual. And people also like some folks on this call who are sitting, listening, thinking, and considering, what does anti-racist development look like? What does an anti-racist nonprofit look like? What does anti-racist grant making look like? What does anti-racist design look like? But most importantly, how do we ensure that Black folks are the leader, are the change makers, and are in charge of their own future? There's someone that I want to tell you about who's a good friend of mine, and I mentioned him earlier. His name is Adrian Elam. Adrian Elam has been one of the strongest supports for queer Black folks. He has created spaces for them to share, to feel supported. He has called me when someone has been incarcerated and asked what can he do to help. He has created events for them to hear from other folks all around this country in order to encourage, inspire, and lift them up. And Adrian Elam is currently working on getting a building. And do you know how he is working on getting that building? Through a GoFundMe. And he's not alone. Many Black folks with great ideals have to resort to GoFundMes. They're not getting the hundreds of millions of dollars that our Catholic family centers, our DePauls are getting. He is raising money in order to buy a building to house Black LGBTQ youth. So if your question was, what should we do? You give the money to the people who are directly impacted. Give money to Adrian Elam, and I really do mean this. I'm gonna drop his GoFundMe in the chat, so that he can provide housing for trans youth of color. Give money to Rena Golden so that she can expand the Avenue Black Box Theater. Give money to Free the People so that they can work on the issues of police reform and the issues of mass incarceration without wondering how are they going to pay their rent. Reject the notion that your ideals will save the Black and brown world. Given the opportunity, read money, the people will save themselves. Given the opportunity, the people can save themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. I am so very grateful for your honesty and for sharing a vision or a picture, I should say, of the Rochester that we currently have. And I'm hopeful that organizations like ours, working together with other people in so many of Rochester's neighborhoods, can be an instrument for change, a tool to help provide people that are living in the communities and the neighborhoods be able to achieve their visions for their neighborhoods. So we do have a short, a bit of time for questions and answers. If you have a question, please put it in the Q&A so that I will be able to see it and pass it on to Danielle. But you've said so many things that have made me think. And one of the most striking things is to give them the money and agency to be able to do what they need. And I am so grateful that you were able to provide actual direction towards allocating some resources. I am wondering, we've gone to such great lengths to suppress this whole population of people. And when I think of the cost, as you started to indicate, the loss of so many people who didn't achieve their dreams, to become whatever they would have liked to have become. And if we're able to take a step back and start to, again, begin to feed those dreams and help people dream, not tiny, 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 but dream big. We all deserve to be able to dream big. So can you tell us a little bit about what we can do to help inspire a generation of change that is certainly much needed? Certainly giving money directly is an immediate thing that we can do. Is there something more that we can do to try to help bring about that incredible community change that you're speaking of?
I think you inspire through action. Feedback. I think you inspire through action. When the reason why white children can have this boundless imagination and believe that they can do all of the things is because there's no systems and structures in place that tell them otherwise. So I believe our action of dismantling these systems and structures will encourage our youth to know, actually, I can do that. I have an idea. If there's an 18-year-old girl right now who has an ideal to open up a salon, and we say to her, here's $30,000 and here's a mentor, and we will help you open up that salon. Do you know what that does to every 18-year-old girl that lives in her community? And that's what has happened to white children, because they have been told there will be a pathway for your success. And for Black children, there's so many things on that road to success that sometimes make it feel like, why should I even bother? Why should I bother? It's almost a given that white children will go to school, that white children, largely white children who live in the suburbs, opportunities will be provided to them. And so we encourage and inspire, not through no big brother, big sister, not through giving a speech. We encourage and inspire by changing and removing the roadblocks.
I have to agree. I know that when we were doing a community design charrette on Hudson Avenue, we toured the neighborhood with a group of residents and former residents. And a gentleman that was in our group really struck me. He was an older gentleman who had retired from Xerox. And he told me when we were passing by the front of a building, he said that building used to have large windows and it used to be a manufacturing plant. And when he was a little boy walking the street with his parents, he would peek in the window and watch people work. And it is what inspired him to become an engineer. And so there's so much that this mentorship, the power of mentorship is so amazing. So hopefully we can find ways to bring about some of that transformative change that you're talking about. I don't have too many questions, so does anybody have anything they'd like to ask of Danielle or something that they would like to share? Please put it in the chat. I know that, Danielle, do you currently still live in Rochester?
I do, yes.
Okay. And I know that in reading some information in preparation for this event, you talked about something that happened, a personal event that happened that inspired you to become a lawyer. Is that something you're willing to share?
Yeah, absolutely. I often talk about the criminal justice system. I didn't talk a lot about that today because this is what has been heavy on my mind as of late. But yes, my brother was sentenced to 20 years to life in prison for a robbery, and that is what encouraged me to do criminal justice reform work, because he was sentenced to that amount of time because of mandatory minimums. So it really is a state, it's a policy issue, right? Because it's a state legislation that allows a judge or a prosecutor to seek that amount of time on someone who has committed their third felony.
Has your brother been released from prison?
Yeah, he has. My brother is doing great right now. He actually is part of, I can't remember the name of his union, but he's a welder. He owns the house that I grew up in. But I think about my brother when he was young. He was he challenged people. Like, he had such a strong personality. He was so independent, and he just wanted to see what he could do. Like, one day he came home with a bow and arrow. One day he came home with like a big arcade game. Like, he was just really eccentric and kind of off the wall. And I think about if he would have grown up in Pittsburgh in a wealthy family, he probably would be like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or someone. Like, he's an ideals generator, and he's not afraid to go against the grain. But once again, the path did not seem there, right? And small things like being stopped by the police frequently, or your teacher being racist and telling you you're not going to make it. There's no way you can do it. Or seeing your mother struggle and needing to be on food stamps. All of those actions say to a kid, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. So no matter how brilliant that child is, it can really stunt their growth because everything is telling them that they're not supposed to be successful. I remember when I was working at Wegmans and I was 18 last year in high school, and so many customers would ask me, did I have any children and did I plan on going to college? And I always thought that was a weird question because I just don't think white teenagers who are 18 years old and a senior, that's even a question. The question is, what college are you going to?
Right.
So if I would have let that, you know, I always want to prove people wrong, but if I would have let that sit with me, it could have been really devastating.
I agree. We have a question from Michael Tome who asks, what would be the first step in the near term if this community were to build a new paradigm for equity?
So Myra Brown, who was one of your nominees, has this idea of a community chest, which I really love. And the concept behind it is to create a reparation fund so that we don't give billions of dollars to nonprofits or billions of dollars in the way of tax cuts for developers, but that we create a fund that is for direct use for the Black community. So that could be refurbishing homes that are either unoccupied or demolishing homes and rebuilding new homes and giving them to Black people for, you're not gonna like this 4-letter word, but for free, giving it to them for free. That could look like paying rent. It could look like advocating for living wages for CNAs. That's a huge piece of it because so many Black women are CNAs and the lack of funds or the lack of living wages really impact the rest of their community. It could look like creating housing for women who are in domestic violence situations or men who are leaving prison. But whatever it is, that community fund is about direct access to funding. From the money goes to the Black community. The money doesn't go to a white social worker and then to a white CEO and then to this, and then the trickle down is a little bit left over for the actual people, right? So I love the idea of creating a community trust or community fund that can begin to lift up the Black community in Rochester.
So the Community Design Center, I don't know if you know much about us or knew much about us before, but we've been working in this city for over 20 years. And we've always looked at issues of design justice, design equity. And we've always looked at things from what we believe was a neutral platform of space. How do we give people space to do what they want to do, or how do we improve space to make their neighborhoods better? We know we have given strategies that are have been tested and that are known. And so we try to educate about those strategies. But we are still, as you say, we're an organization of white people with expertise coming into so many neighborhoods where we don't reflect the community that we're trying to help. So I'm wondering, can you give me some pointers as the director of an organization that's wanting to help? How can we better engage the Black community? I know we've had conversations, especially this summer, about the need to diversify the people that are at our table. And certainly we're striving to do that, but that's been a challenge for us. So can you give me any direction where I might be able to take action to move towards becoming a better organization?
So I have a million thoughts. One, there's something called the anti-racism continuum. First of all, let me just say this. Anyone on this call that works in a nonprofit should read the book, The Revolution Will Not Be Funded. It will blow your mind. But there's something called the anti-racism continuum, steps towards being an anti-racist organization. What I like about that is the last step on that continuum is an organization that is actually led by the people. So really asking yourself within your organization, where does the power lie? And if that power lie exclusively amongst white people, then how do you change it? But all organizations should really be assessing if they are what the community needs. And that is a hard task. That is a hard, really, because we all truly believe in what we're doing. And this is the way, and this is how it should be. And I can't tell you how many white folks with 4-year, 6-year, 8-year degrees think they got the best idea in the world and are going to fix and change things. And no one asked for it. No one asked for it. No one said they wanted it. And on the Maslow hierarchy of needs, it ain't even on there. So I think really reassessing, are we meeting an actual need in the community? And looking at your budget, where are our funds going to? And how are they directly transforming the lives of people in the Black and Brown community? So I think a organizational assessment, a self-assessment of, are you really making impact? And I don't know enough to say you are or you're not. But I do know that I've done this with a very popular nonprofit recently, and I would say they really weren't. And everyone goes to them. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if most nonprofits in the city are not really making any transformative impact. And if you aren't, then why do you still exist? And why are you still getting millions of dollars in funding? And how might you find what the real needs are and find who the real people are in the community doing work and support them instead?
I thank you for that very, very good advice. With that, I am going to thank you so much for being willing to be our urban observation speaker. I hope that I have the opportunity to engage in conversation with you further. But we've had a wonderful program, and we wanted to keep it kind of tight because it is a Zoom program, which we all have had many, many, many of. So with that, I extend my thank you and gratitude to Danielle for being our speaker. To all of the people who have participated in the program, assisted with the program, I thank you. And we just have a few closing slides. We have an upcoming event. We are pleased to announce that our lecture series continues to build on the work that was presented in June by Tony Griffin. And we are focusing the theme for next year on building a just community. We have a wonderful outline for the 5-part series. We are currently confirming our speakers, but we know that the first event will kick off on Wednesday, January 27th. So please save that date. We continue to present these virtually until further notice, but it's been a great success to have this over the noon hour. So keep looking at our website for further updates, and we certainly will promote the events as they come up. We look forward to having you join us for that really well-designed series that we hope will be informative. And with that, I want to thank all of our finalists and award recipients. As I said, you will each be receiving a framed plaque, so we will make arrangements to get those all to you. But thank you so much. There was an amazing diversity of talent and work that's been done in the community, and I hope that together we can continue to hopefully make that transformative change that is so much needed. Please tell us what you think. Your honest feedback is critically important for us to continue to improve our programming. So share your thoughts. We do review them. And lastly, thank you all. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful next couple of months. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.